All right, YouTube, in this video, the first part of the audio was cut out because the little adapter that allows me to plumb sound into the GoPro, it basically only feeds whatever sound is coming into the headset. So basically you're hearing what I hear in the headphones. So I'm sort of talking in the video, but you can't hear any of the audio. So right now I'm running through the checklist. SRL switch is on. Here I'm doing a feather valve check on the propellers. So using the unfeathering pump makes the beta light come on. Moving the condition lever back to feather, the beta light goes out. That verifies that the feather valve will open and dump the oil pressure to allow the prop to feather. Let's see, power lever set. Condition levers are taxi. So I hit the start button. And then right now I'm guarding the condition lever. And I'm watching the temperature on the engine. Should stabilize around 700 degrees Celsius. The SRL computer is metering fuel to make that happen, to help the engine accelerate. And I'm guarding the condition lever. If the engine started to go towards the start triangle, which is 770, that's the start limit, I would pull the condition lever out and back to feather. That immediately shuts the fuel off to the engine to abort the start, to keep it from the excess heat from damaging the turbine blades in the engine. So you can see me pointing at the gauge. It's holding right there at 700 degrees Celsius. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. And again, I'm just guarding the condition lever in case of a hard start. Monitoring that the engine's accelerating normally. I'm also looking for the beta light to come on no later than 30. Should come on by 30%, no later than 40%. Good start on number 2. I turn the air conditioning on to the right blade to get a little bit of air conditioning, and I set the cruise altitude in the pressurization window. Offside gen on, then the onside gen on. Once the charging rate's below 100, you turn the offside gen off, which doubles the apparent charge rate on the running engine ammeter. Once that's below 100, you can turn the running engine generator off, and then start the number 1 engine. So right here I'm charging the battery, pointing at the charge rate. Number 2 gen switch off. Start master to the left side. I hit the number 1 start button, looking for rotation. Fuel flow, light off. You can see the needle there second from the top climbing. That means there's fire in the engine, and I'm on the condition lever in case I need to abort the start again. You can see me pointing at the exhaust gas temperature, or EGT gauge, stabilizing at 700. Looking for the beta light to come back on by 30 for our NTS check, negative torque sensing. That's sort of the Garrett version of auto feather. You can see me make the twirling motion with my finger. That's me visually showing that the engine's accelerating. Back to the temperature. And just waiting for a good stabilized start. After we get a stable start, I'm looking for starter cutout. I turn both generators on momentarily, let the batteries charge for about a 3 count. Then I turn one side generator off to check the bus tie. That's the electrical connection between the 2 sides of the electrical system. So we'll check that bus tie is closed. If it's working correctly, you'll see generator voltage on both sides with that side generator turned off, because the other generator is sending voltage over to both sides via the bus tie. So that verifies that the bus tie is closed. Now you can hear.
All right, you should be able to hear the audio
Aural
now.
alert system operational.
That's the aural alert system that gives you warnings for things like gear and flaps and everything. So you should be able to hear the audio just fine. I sort of pointed at things. I'll add the audio later for things I'm looking for during the start. So every start we need what's called an NTS check. That's the negative torque sensing system. That's sort of the Garrett version of auto feather, like you'd have on a PT6. And that system has to work. That's a safety flight issue, so that's a no-go item. Basically, the beta lights need to come on before 30. The book says they can come on no later than 40, actually. So got a good NTS check on that. So we'll finish the after start checklist, then we'll call for a clearance.
Negative on my short approach, left traffic, takeoff.
All right, battery select switches are parallel. Fuel transfers down here, they're going to auto. That's what starts the fuel transferring from our tips and our outers to the main tank. Start selector air and safe. Cabin airs to both. Overspeed governor check will get out at the runway. Got P check, flaps are set to 5, flight controls are checked.
Well, better them saying it than me.
Trim tabs are set. We'll check all our annunciator warning lights, and we got a dark panel. So the lights all work and then they all go out. And we're going to release the start lock. So I'm going to go into reverse. You'll see a little kick in the fuel flow and the EGT goes up. Same thing on the left side, you get a rise in fuel flow, a little spike in EGT. So that takes the engines off the start locks. And then we're going to call for clearance. So first thing we're going to do is get some ATIS.
Conroe Northeastern Region Airport Information Hotel, 16530, wind 2305, visibility 10. Sky condition 3,800 scattered, 8,000 scattered, ceiling 10,000 broken. Temperature 32, 2.23, altimeter 3001. Our nav runway 19 approach in use. Advise on initial contact. You have information hotel.
Alright, we got the ATIS. We're going to go over
Conroe
to
Northeastern Region Airport Information Hotel.
ground on 2045. Usually gives you clearance out of Conroe. They do have a clearance frequency, but they tend not to use it very often. Conroe ground, Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf at the Swamp with Information Hotel, looking to for clearance to Naples Kilo Alpha Papa Foxtrot.
Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf, cleared to Alpha Foxtrot as filed, maintain 2,000. Expect flight level 230, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 119.7, squawk 7445.
Alright, 17 Hotel Golf cleared to Naples as filed, 2,000, flight level 230 and 10, 119.7, squawk at 7445.
There's 7 Hotel Golf, free back right.
Thank you.
Altitude.
So I'm going to roll 2,000 feet in there. Flight level 230 is our final altitude, 19.7 for departure, squawking 7445. And so I'm going to put in the route that I filed, because that's what they gave me. We're going to load procedure, departure. Filed on the Malt 7, runway 19. White Lake, load departure after White Lake, Leeville, LEV. And then I'm going to touch Leeville. We're going to go load airway. We're going to fly on Y290, the Blevins intersection. On a load. Then off of Blevins, it was Q102 to bags. So off of Blevins, I'm going to do Q102 bags. Then after bags, it was direct Kilo Alpha Papa Foxtrot, which is the Naples airport. Now the route's all loaded. I'll hold the home key to go back to the map page. So the flight plan is all loaded. We're ready to taxi. It's the parking brake. Clear on the left, clear on the right. Do a brake check. Conroe ground, Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf at the Swamp Hotel, ready for taxi.
Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf. How long before you be ready and the wind is calm would you like runway 1?
We'll be ready, yeah, we'll take runway 1, 17 Hotel Golf.
Taxi to 1 and contact Tara. Get you out of here.
Taxi runway 1, 17 Hotel Golf, have a good day.
Runway heading, seriously, takeoff.
All right, before takeoff, lights, we got our beacon on. I'll get the strobes crossing the runway. De-ice does not apply. Transponder is going to be automatically do its thing. So cabin air is on both. Flaps set to 5. Ignition levers will come up to flight as we cross.
Ready?
7-0 takeoff, affirmative.
Get out of here. Right, 060, 5000, 1, clip takeoff.
060, 5000, takeoff runway 170 takeoff.
Come in early turn out to 060, please.
All right, turn 060, we'll give you an turn, 170 takeoff.
2 Tango Alpha, right traffic. I call the base. Traffic departing 1, Mitsubishi.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignitions, conditions, and strobes. We're going to get the supplemental NTS as we line up here. I'm going to give it power. We got torque on the gauges. All right, here we go. Looking for about 450 pounds. And the EGT is going to climb as we accelerate. They call that ram rise. So we're about 620. That's pretty good. We're going to rotate at 110. There's 110. The left rudder is in break ground.
Runway 19, clear touch and go.
19, clear touch and go, Sirius 2 Tango Alpha.
Yeah, y'all are fast, but you ain't gonna catch him.
No, sir.
Hotel Golf, call departure 119.7. See you.
7 Hotel Golf, have a good day. Departure Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf 1500 climbing 5060 heading.
Oh, Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf, departure radar contact, let me maintain 5000.
I maintain 5000, 17 Hotel Golf. Alright, I'm going to put the autopilot on here. And the annunciator lights
7
here.
Hotel Golf, contact departure 132.25.
3225, 17 Hotel Golf.
3.3, climbing 4000, heading 340.
Shell 6038, departure radar contact, speed 230. 230 until advised, fly heading 360.
230 on the speed, heading 360, shuttle 6038.
Shell 6038, climb and maintain 16,000. I'll try to speed you up when I can.
Climb maintain 16,000, air shuttle 6038.
Number 17 Hotel Golf, Houston approach, fly heading 130, climb maintain 16,000.
130 heading 16,000, 17 Hotel Golf out of 3000.
Thank you.
Alright, there was a little bit of weather out over the southern U.S., over Louisiana, but it looked like if you're offshore at all, you're clear of it. Just because I can't see, just make sure there's no convective weather out here. I've got the radar on. It looks pretty clear. Maybe a cell out there 30 miles or so, but it's going to be off to our left, so it shouldn't be much of a factor. Right now, temperature plus 25, so icing's not an issue. I'm going to go ahead and turn the pitot heat on. Just the pitot tubes clear. Helps keep the moisture, that sort of boils the moisture off there to help keep the pitot-static system dry. So that was a pretty high speed departure out of there. They gave me a runway change there at the last minute. I did get all the items complete. There's a flow that you do as you're crossing the runway. So what they taught me is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, plus the ignition. So 5, you set the pitch trim to about 5, and then you're just counting down items. Roll trim's in the middle. Rudder trim is about 3 units to the left. Flaps are set to where you want them for takeoff. In this case, it was 5 degrees. And the condition lever's up to takeoff. And then we got the ignitions and the strobes as we were crossing the threshold. So I got a little time compression going on there. Right now, 5,600 feet. And we're climbing to 16,000 is what I have in the altitude alerter.
United 773.
United 773, this is Houston departure. You're supposed to be on me?
And right now we're in heading select on the autopilot. We're climbing in indicated airspeed mode. So right now these crosshairs here,
6038, turn left heading 340.
the horizontal one is giving me pitch info, and the vertical one gives you steering info. And right now the autopilot's engaged, so the autopilot will follow these flight directors. The other thing that's a gotcha on this autopilot,
Hotel Golf, turn 20 right.
20 right, 17 Hotel Golf. The other thing that's kind of a gotcha on these Sperry autopilots, you give it a vertical mode, in this case indicated airspeed. The jets I fly at work, if you give it an altitude and a mode, it automatically will level off at the altitude you have set in there. This autopilot won't do that. If you just hit indicated airspeed, it will climb at indicated airspeed right past the altitude you've set in the window. So that is a little bit of a gotcha on this airplane. From a human factor standpoint, that's, I think, not a great design. But that's what you got with this airplane. I'm at a 7,500 on our way up to 16,000. And right now we're just on assigned headings with Houston to get us out of the terminal area. I'm going to go ahead and kill the weather radar, put it in standby, and I'll go back to map mode on the PTN 725.
4,100, 4,000, heading 36.
Here you can see the rings of the Class Bravo airspace for Houston. So there's Bush Airport here in Houston. Here's these blue lines here are the Class B, the different pie slices, different altitudes. So right now the slice we're in, from 1,000 to 4,000 feet, you're in Class B airspace Bravo. This pie slice here, anywhere between 3,000 and 10,000. We're at 8,500, so we are currently in the Class Bravo airspace. Talking to Houston approach.
6038, checking with the heading and the
when we climb a little higher, they're going to hand us off to Houston Center. Then I'm going to make small tweaks to the power as we climb, just to keep us at about 625 to 630 degrees or so. That's where I like to run these engines. Redline 650, turbine engines, the wear is exponential the hotter you run them. So I try to be nice to them because the overhauls are very expensive. Yeah, right now you'll see the fuel flow drop as we climb higher and higher. That's going to be kind of a slow process, so it's very subtle. And right now our final altitude that we filed is flight level 230, so 23,000 feet more or less. And at this weight, that's about as high as this airplane's going to comfortably climb.
I guess center is not taking people out to the east anymore. You're going to have to go southeast for a little while.
17 Hotel Golf, no problem.
17 Hotel Golf, I'll have, I don't know, you may have to level up at 16 for a bit, but we'll see when you get there.
17 Hotel Golf, yeah, just let me know. All right, out of 10,000 feet, I like to verify that we're pressurizing. So right now we're showing 3 PSI of differential pressure. The cabin altitude's currently 3,000 feet.
6166, turn
I set the filed
340
cruise altitude in this little window down here. You probably can't see it on the camera. And once we get up to cruise altitude of 23,000, it's telling me the actual cabin altitude that you feel should be around 6,000 feet. So it's basically like you're at the west part of Denver. It's sort of what it feels like from a pressure standpoint. Pressurization is very nice. It's also giving us cool air.
Contact Houston Center on 127.12, 2712. Have a good one.
2712, 17 Hotel Golf. Have a good day. Houston Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf 11-5, climbing to 16,150 heading.
17 Hotel Golf, Houston departure, roger. 7 Hotel Golf, center's taking everybody down towards the coast and then eastbound, unless you were looking to do something different for the weather.
17 Hotel Golf, I'll take a look. Turn my phone off.
Departure, good afternoon, Skywest 5281.
I'm going to connect my 4-flight app on this iPad to the Stratus box, so that has what's called ADS-BN. It's sort of like low-res internet. It just has a few functions. It'll feed you weather information. You can pull up radar. I'm just going to look at the overall radar picture.
Before Hotel Romeo fighting.
I do have onboard weather radar on this aircraft if we were going to get very close to it.
Now I'll direct up Alaska's here shortly.
Okay.
But the ADS-B radar is good for being strategic about how you're going to route around weather. Alright, out over the Gulf, right now 22,000 feet. We're going to level off at 23,000 feet. You can see the rate of climb slowed down to about 500 feet per minute. Engine's humming along nicely at about 630 degrees, making about 50% torque. So right now, each engine's out there making about 360 horsepower per the gauges. So a total of about 720 horsepower if you add the two. They did reroute us direct to a fix called S-Bird.
Number Chop, Charlie, kind of decent center,
That's out here over the Gulf of Mexico. About 30 miles offshore, and then they cleared us all the way direct to back. So I'll zoom out here. Sort of see the God's eye view here. Here we are in Texas. We're going there to Florida. So S-Bird is that little triangle right there, and then Bags is right off the west coast of Florida.
Make it 345, roger, maintain Mach 0.77.
Yellow light is on, and you heard the aural warning say altitude really loud. So that's warning you that, hey, you're 1,000 feet away from the altitude you've set in the window. That's just to wake you up to make sure that the airplane's going to level off like you expect it to. Mentally, I take that to double check that the altitude select mode is armed, so it's actually going to capture. Again, if that's deselected and that light's not lit up, it will keep tracking indicated airspeed right past that altitude. So if you want it to capture the altitude when it gets there, on this autopilot you have to hit that altitude select button, and you've got that little witness light there that says arm. And you can see the climb rate's really slowing down. It's showing about 300 feet a minute on the gauge right now. We're just a touch fast. I'm going to use a little bit of that speed to zoom up. I'm going to hold the TCS button down. That's the touch control steering. But basically you're telling the autopilot, hey George, I've got it for just a minute here. When you let go of the TCS button, whatever mode it's in, it will grab the current state of the aircraft and hold it. So it was still in indicated airspeed mode while I held the TCS button down and pitched up manually by pulling on the yoke. The speed was bleeding off. When I let go of the TCS, it will again track indicated airspeed, what existed at the time when I let go of the TCS, the touch control steering button. We're at 22.9. Diff pressure looks good. We're pressurizing nicely. It went to capture, and then altitude hold is on. So level at 23,000 feet, direct to S-Bird.
Yeah, 1501 Eastern Center, hello, climb maintain flight level 330.
You can see right now in magenta, we've got the D with the arrow through it, and S-Bird, Sierra, Bravo, India, Romeo, Delta. Both of those are lit up magenta. That's telling you, hey, right now I'm tracking direct to S-Bird. Our HSI shows that we're in L now, so right now the autopilot is steering the airplane to take us direct to that S-Bird intersection.
At a 1501, clear direct S-Bird, that's Sierra, Bravo, India,
temperatures look good on the
Delta,
engines, so now that excess power that we had that was giving us the climb rate, now that extra horsepower above what's required for level flight is going to accelerate the airplane. At this weight, it's probably going to settle around 175 indicated. That'll get up to 180 or maybe just a hair or more as we burn some fuel off and get a little lighter. So it's going to true at about 265 or so just because we're relatively heavy, 270. And then as we burn fuel off, it'll accelerate its way up to about 280 or so. We're out over the Gulf right now, level 23,000 feet, indicating about 180 knots on the gauge. Again, making about 50% torque, so 360-ish horsepower per side right now. Temperature's running about 630, just like I said before. I don't run it all the way up to 650. So I am giving up a little bit of speed there.
Contact Houston Center 123.82.
123.82, 17 Hotel Golf.
Point confirmed, was that for 786 Hotel Delta?
Yeah, November 786 Hotel Delta.
Correction, Victor, Papa, Charlie, India, Papa, climb and maintain for level 470.
Climb level 470, Victor, Papa, Charlie, India, Papa, thank you.
Houston, Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf on level 230.
Delta Golf is going to be on the last frequency. You check my creek.
November 17 Hotel Golf, you should be on 133.8 still.
Thank you. 17 Hotel Golf, looks like I took the frequency for somebody else. I'm back with you upon level 230.
17 Hotel Golf, roger, and there's scatter cells and moderate type precipitation extending east for about another 30 miles if you need deviation request.
17 Hotel Golf, I'll let you know. Alright, pardon the interruption, just talking to air traffic control there.
Time maintain level 350.
Accidentally took the frequency that he gave to somebody else, so that happens occasionally. No harm though. Back on 33.8, we're talking to Houston Center right now. That's who controls the airspace that I'm in right now over the Gulf. True airspeed out on the GTN 725 shows us truing right now at about 265 or so. Again, we're pretty heavy, and I'm not running the power up as high as I could. So temperatures are 630 instead of 650. If I ran them at 650, probably would get more like low 270s on the speed.
At 1361, roger. And
oil temps running nice and cool. They're in the green. Oil pressure, fuel pressure is looking good. Fuel quantity in the main tank still full there, as it should be. Our fuel transfers right here are in auto. So what that does is that feeds fuel out of the tips. You can see the tips aren't full anymore. They're down to about 400 pounds a side, and that tracks. So we burned about 200 out of each side, and they're on the fuel consumed counter. It says Foxborough's the brand of it. 416 pounds consumed so far. So we got a good cross check. We burned 400 pounds, and the gauges have gone down by about 400 pounds. So a nice cross check on that. Outers are still full, mains are still full. So once the tips are empty, the auto function of the transfers will switch to the outer tanks. As I said before, the tip transfers use bleed air to pressurize the tank to feed that fuel into the main tank. And then the outer tanks have fuel pumps that pump the fuel into the main tank. So the main tank, the engines only drink fuel out of the main tanks, and the rest of the fuel on the airplane is transferable fuel. So for now, I'll probably stop the video again. Get a nice read on where we are here. Shot of the ForeFlight screen. A little bit bouncy going over the Gulf today, but you can see we're just offshore, just south of the Texas-Louisiana border, basically just south of Beaumont, out over the Gulf. And I'll cut the video right here. We'll splice it together later. Cruising over the Gulf, coming up just south of Houma, Louisiana is up there to the north. So right there we're looking at the shoreline. You got the propeller and the tip tank. The little mirror there is so you can actually look out there and see if the gear leg is extended. So sort of a secondary way you can visually verify that the landing gear's down. Gonna do a quick pan. Bit of scenery going over the Gulf today. A little bit of convective activity. The Q route is mostly clear. We're actually direct bags right now, so we're technically not on the Q route. Nice view out at the right tip tank. A little bit of convective activity going off there on the right side of the aircraft to the south of us. And onshore today is actually pretty rough, so you can't really see it, but off in the distance is quite a bit of thunderstorm activity. You can sort of see it there on the ForeFlight screen. So there we are, the airplane on the map. You can see all that radar activity right there near the coastline. Just west of New Orleans is kind of the worst, around Lafayette, Baton Rouge. Anyway, going out over the ocean today. Nice ride, avoiding most of the thunderstorm activity. And you can see, as I talked about in the earlier video, we're going right between these warning areas. Those are pretty active. The military uses those more often than they're not using them. And you can see this route keeps us right between those warning areas. And so today that works great. If it was stormy today on this little corridor right here, they would close the Gulf down. And that's sort of colloquially how they say that, is they'll say the Gulf is closed. And what that means is the warning areas are active, and you can't go in there as an IFR aircraft while the warning areas are active. And so if you can't go here and you can't go here, and this is all covered up with weather, you can't really go anywhere. So what happens then is they'll start to route you overland. And I think I forgot to mention in a previous video, the reason these Q routes exist is to give you sort of a direct shot to the southern tip of Florida, rather than having to go overland and hug the shoreline. So this is basically the most direct route, and it avoids this military airspace warning areas. So it's sort of the express lane to Florida from Texas would be one way to think about it. And right now we're lucky, so weather's good over the Gulf today, and the overland route is actually the bad route today. So nice straight shot right now. Looking at 1 hour and 49 minutes to go, making 279 knots over the ground. Right now the fuel flow is right around 250 a side, so about 500 pounds an hour total. That's right around, I believe if you did the math, that's about 75-ish gallons per hour or so. Again, temps on the engines having right around 630. Tip tanks have burned down to about 250 a piece. So we've burned about 350 out of each side, and hey, look at that on the fuel use counter, right at 700. The fuel we've used, we can see that it went away on the gauges, and the outers and the mains are still full. Indicated airspeed, as we've lost a little bit of weight here, about 182 knots. So it's sort of obvious how when you burn burn fuel off on this airplane and lose weight, that the speed picks up. So this aircraft is probably more sensitive to weight than most, and it's because it has that little tiny wing. Another way you can visually see it is the angle between the horizon and the tip tank out there. Initially when you're heavy, you can visually see that it's got a positive angle with the horizon. As you burn fuel off and the speed picks up, the AOA on the wing, you can sort of visually see the angle on that tip tank reduce. So that's sort of a neat visual indication that, hey, you're losing weight because you're burning fuel. And I think HUM there is Houma, Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. So here we go, and you can see our warning areas over here. We're going to avoid those nicely to the south. Here we are a little further along in the Gulf. Speed's crept up to around 185 or so. Ground speed's showing 288 knots. Tip tanks are almost empty, still showing about 50 pounds in each one. And so again, we get a good cross check on how much fuel we've used. That more or less tracks with what we're seeing on the gauge. Outers are still full, main is still full. And right now we're just over an hour out of APF. What I was going to talk about right here is about the most critical point. That's where you're about the furthest offshore. And so you can see the warning areas right here. Right now, just based on the thunderstorm activity and everything, I would be looking at going to Gulf Shores if I had to go somewhere. That's a Juliet Kilo Alpha. It's about 130 miles. It's about probably a 340 heading or so from where I'm at. Right now this airspace is closed because the military is using it, so the warning areas are hot. However, if you are an emergency aircraft, that totally goes out the window. I think pilots should have assertiveness training, because sometimes controllers don't respect that when you tell them you have an emergency. Just understand that if you need to do it for safety, if there's something wrong with the aircraft, or you're doing it for a safety reason, you're not asking them, you're telling them. So there's no issue if you're an emergency aircraft and you need to fly through these warning areas, no problem there. They would just have to coordinate that with the military controllers just to help avoid any conflicts. But you are the emergency aircraft at that point, so you have priority. I just did want to point out that this isn't, if you have an emergency, you're allowed to go in here. So they're not going to clear you through there as long as everything's running normal for you. But if you do declare an emergency, no issue going through these warning areas. So right now, if I lost a motor or something, I would turn straight north and head for the shoreline. Probably land at Gulf Shore based on what the thunderstorm activity is doing up there. Making pretty good time. Right now, I'll pull it up on the map. 1 hour and 9 minutes to go is what we're showing there in the top right. And it's been a nice smooth ride at 23,000.
Miami Center left 420, beginning level 250, traffic Jane, level 210.
Let's go 420, Miami Center, roger.
Alright, here we are again. We're on the eastern edge of the Gulf, approaching the Florida coastline. Right between those warning areas, so this is the area that I discussed in a previous video. If it was thunderstormy right here, they would shut down this route and they wouldn't even let you come over the Gulf. So this is sort of the choke point here between warning area 168 and warning area 470 Foxtrot or so. That's the narrowest part there. Again, excellent day today. We've had pretty good rides most of the way across the Gulf. At this point, if anything bad happened, it would make sense going to the western shoreline of Florida rather than to go north to the Panhandle. We're closer to the western shoreline at this point. Sarasota would be a good alternate. The screen recording on the iPad actually filled up the memory, so unfortunately I'll just have to make lemonade out of that one. So anyway, I'm recording the screen with the GoPro here so you can see where I am. Let's see, we're doing bags and the Picker 5 arrival, I think it is. Picker 7 arrival. So here's what the arrival looks like. So the transition, you have to actually pick a transition. Get the GTN 725 to take it. So I loaded the Remus transition, and then I just cleaned it up on the flight plan page from bags to Picker. So right now, navigating direct to bags. So bags is the active waypoint because it's magenta, and then it's telling you, hey, after bags, the next waypoint is Picker. So you can see here's the arrival on paper, and it's bags to Picker. So we know we have it in there loaded correctly. You can see the ground speed's picked up to about 290 knots, 37 minutes or so to go. Right now the outers are empty, sorry, the tip tanks are empty. 1,306 pounds used, so the tips all together, the pair of them hold about 1,200 pounds. So they're done, and then we burned 100 pounds beyond that. And again, it looks like we're into the outers a little bit. I can see them coming down, so they're not full anymore. And you can see where the 1,200 pounds from the tips and the 100 pounds out of the outers adds up to the fuel used. So I'm kind of always watching that, not every minute, but occasionally I like to do a cross check on that just so I know where the fuel went and make sure that the fuel we have on board makes sense. We have what we should have based on what we burned. That would be something that would cause me to head for the shoreline if we started getting very much lower than what we should have. Then that might be something I would divert for. You don't want to be over a large body of water when your fuel supply is in question. So anyway, make an excellent time. You can see we burned off some more fuel. Indicated airspeeds worked its way up to about 187 or so. 23,000 feet, getting a good ride. About 36 minutes to go, right?
The 4965.
The ride's westbound.
305 minus your light chop all altitudes except for Bravo 360. That's intermittent continuous light, occasional moderate.
Alright, we'll stay here 240, man. Season back. Miami Delta 597, front of a 370.
Delta 597, Miami Center, roger. Delta 597, clear direct to flyer, and I expect deviations with Jacksonville Center.
Direct flyer and no expect deviations, Delta 597.
Getting some vectors for spacing. It looks like they are actually going to take me into warning area 168. It must not be active right now. That's the controller's responsibility to regulate that. They had given us across Zeiler at 11,000 feet, and it would be pretty close to time to start down. But then they...
Hotel Golf, direct Zeiler.
Direct Zeiler, 170 Togo. Alright, they gave us direct Zeiler, so I'm going to hit direct. And it has bags in there, because that's where we were going, but if you touch the flight plan tab, Zeiler, activate, and on this aircraft to switch between heading and nav, you have to push in on the heading bug. And That's how you know it says LNAV right there.
1366.
That's how you know it's the autopilot's going to track the LNAV rather than flying ahead. They switch back and forth between heading and LNAV and plane. Here you can see the dash line is where the airplane's going. We're currently turning right now, so that dash line will match up with the magenta line. The magenta line is the course directed Xyler.
American 2665, 330.
We are at 4,000 and around 17 miles southeast.
All right, guys, here we go. We are about 20 miles, actually 18 miles away from Naples. So we're currently on heading 110 to join the final. We're going to plan the visual approach to runway 23. You can see the shoreline coming up there. Sanibel Island's just off to our left.
We're the Sierra Flight Crew, Charge altimeter 296. That traffic's now 11 o'clock and 8 miles out of 3,000.
Okay, got the altimeter there.
They're doing 277 knots over the ground, indicating about 240 at the beast.
Romeo, radar contact 17 miles southeast of the X-rays or wire port, 4 miles altimeter 296.
Here I'm holding the landing gear warning horn. Right out, switch down as I pull the power back,
We're planning to go to
just to keep the speed from going over the red line.
Kilo Yankee, that will be very good.
60 Romeo, roger.
Traffic was inside, but now we're in the clouds.
Flight service frequencies. Stop refueler out of service.
So stop and pass 57 is 1500.
And I've loaded the visual approach to runway 23 in the GPS. That'll give us a course to follow on our command bars, and you can also see it on the map just to kind of help keep you oriented with the airport. And I'm planning to leave the video on all the way to the taxi spot. We'll see how that works out, as long as it doesn't overheat and everything. I've got the airport in sight.
Altitude.
About 130 at about 12 miles, actually about 12 miles over there. My flight just decided to process an app update, so that was perfectly well timed. Here I'm holding about 300 pounds an hour of fuel flow. The aircraft leveled off, so now the speed's starting to bleed off, but it's getting to be about that time anyway from an energy standpoint.
Going to maintain 1,500, the airport 2 o'clock and 6 miles.
Maintain 1,500 fields in sight, 17 Hotel Golf.
7 Hotel Golf, join the 5 mile final, cleared visual approach runway 23, contact Naples Tower.
5 mile final, clear the visual approach 23 over to the tower, 17 Hotel Golf.
Altitude. Altitude.
After Naples Tower, Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf, right base, visual approach runway 23.
Mitsubishi 17 Hotel Golf, Naples Tower, runway 23, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 23, 17 Hotel Golf.
Autopilot disconnecting.
All right, autopilot's coming off. I'm hand flying now. And you can see I've got a electronic glide path and a little track indicator over here to help me line up on the visual. But I do actually have it in sight. I can just see it with my eyes and maneuver the aircraft. I've got the power back, so the speed's going to start bleeding off. As the aircraft slows, I'm having to give it a little bump of nose up trim, just to retrim it for the new airspeed as it slows down. So that's constantly changing. So I'm constantly giving it little bumps of trim with the electric trim switches here on the yoke. Maximum speed for flaps 5 is 175. That's also the gear speed. I like to do it about 150, so we're there now. We've got the runway made. I'm going to go ahead and put the landing gear down. All right, down 3 green, the red went out. That means forward gear doors closed.
Altitude.
I'm going to spin the altitude up so we stop getting the altitude warnings. I armed the approach mode and it's capturing, so the command bar should start giving us good data here. Coming to flaps 5.
17 Hotel Golf, low altitude alert, check your altitude, Naples altimeter 2996.